Hey guys, it's Nikki. I am coming back at you with another vlog from inside my apartment building. That's crazy, right? Because usually I'm outside. Anyway, I'm talking about just removing toxic people from your life. And I know that's such a hard thing to do, so I thought I'd make a vlog about it. First thing you need to know about removing toxic people, it's okay if it takes time. I know it takes time to just remove them and get rid of them from your life. Even toxic energy, that is such a hard thing to get rid of. But I'm going to talk to you today about how to do that. All right. First thing you need to know is about your space. Why is that so important? People are like, what? My space? What does that have to do with anything? Well, there's at least 3 spaces you need to know about. Your head space, your emotional space, and your physical space. Now, a lot of times when we have toxic people in our lives and even toxic energy, those types of spaces are being violated. And I know that it's hard to admit sometimes, but sometimes a toxic person might mess with how you think, how you feel, and how you feel physically. Now, that's not to say that if they temporarily do that, then you need to cut them off. But if they're constantly doing that to a point where you feel like you're being emotionally damaged, physically damaged, or even mentally damaged, then you need to cut them off. First things first is you need to realize what that person does for you. And what I mean is, are they a positive source, a negative source, or a neutral source? Now, negative sources are things that you immediately need to address, but if you can't address it at the moment, try to figure out ways where you can allow yourself to feel comfortable addressing it. I know, especially for me, I've had a hard time, at least in the past couple years, cutting off people that I know are really, really bad for me, but sometimes it's what you really need to do. Now, positive sources, you keep those in your life. You really keep those. If you know that that friend is a true and positive source, even family member, anybody in your life that's a true positive source, you need to keep that. Keep it, run with it, stay with it. But if they're starting to become a negative source and you've already addressed it with them, because I feel like first you have to address it with that person and talk to them about how you're feeling as of late. And if they continue to be a negative source, you need to cut them off. Neutral sources, you don't necessarily need to be the most concerned about them, but they have the potential to be positive sources or negative sources. And sometimes with the neutral source, you'll wonder, why do I maintain this relationship? Because sometimes a relationship has to involve a lot of work. So you got to ask yourself those questions too. When it comes down to cutting people off, a lot of times people that are being cut off will always come to you and ask you like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? If you're not ready to address that situation, you need to say, I need my space. Please respect my space. And if they can't do that, they're not even worthy of the time that you address trying to figure out how to cut them off. You should just cut them off because they don't know how to respect your boundaries. And I need you to all understand that your space is sacred. Your space is not worth more or less than someone else's space. And when people come and violate your space, you don't deserve that. So, next thing, you need to realize, don't think of the time of the relationship, but think of the potential of that relationship. Because I feel like people think that because they've known someone for so long that they have to stay in negative relationships. You don't have to do that because you can find someone else who is worthy of your time and does not do that to you. You have to figure out what about that. Okay, now, After you do all of those things, you really need to take an introspective look and see, is this person where I'm going to be at, or where I want to be, or even where I'm at right now? You have to really take those things into consideration before you cut someone off. Whew. Now the hard part, actually cutting them off. One thing is, a lot of times people like to have conversations. Some people, you can't do that. You have to solely wean from them. But for some people who want to have conversations, I'm just going to let you know this. It's going to be a very hard conversation. It's not something that's going to be, oh, I can just get it out the way. No, it's a hard conversation because it's going to take a lot of emotional energy, a lot of mental energy, because you really have to talk about what's ending this relationship, or even what's ending this friendship, what's ending it. And then you have to also take a retrospective look of everything that you are discussing at that moment. It's a very, very hard thing to do, but you'll appreciate it. Now, the people who cannot, and I mean can't, have a regular conversation and are just going to pop off, you need to basically tell them, it's over. We're done. That's one of those things that it takes a long time to do. And I can, trust me, from firsthand knowledge, I understand it was a hard thing for me to do at points in times in my life. But you have to do it. To cut someone off, I want to tell you, it's a hard thing to do, but I promise you that is so relieving once you do it. Toxic energy and toxic people, once you really take that time and just realize that that person's not good for you, and you get them out of your life, I tell you, it changes your life. Also, when it comes, your work's not done even after you end it. And let me tell you why. Because then you have to remind yourself and allow yourself to grieve the loss of that friendship, or grieve the loss of that person in your life. Because you'll remember the good times. You'll remember how great of a person they were back in the day. You're going to grieve that. You're allowed to. Please do. Before you decide, oh, I'm over it. No, it's fine if you grieve it, if you just take that time for you and figure out how to deal with it. But removing toxic people and removing toxic energy, it's not as simple as saying 1, 2, 3. I don't know how to count right now. But it's more about knowing who you are now and seeing who fits in with who you are now. Sometimes people grow and change and people evolve. It is your job and it's your duty to yourself and to your spaces to figure out who and what is best for you. So if you remember anything from me today, respect yourself and respect your space. Weed out the toxic energy and people in your life, because you deserve it. That's all for today. Ooh, that was cringy, but we're gonna keep rolling with it. Anyway, you guys have a great day, okay? Also, like, comment, and subscribe. Some of y'all, I've been seeing y'all looking at my channel and y'all haven't subscribed yet. I know y'all like my little content. Anyway, bye y'all.